We now welcome onto the podcast current Ars gaffer Neil Critchley. Neil, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No worries. How's your day been? What have you been up to?
I had it was an EFL podcast this morning that I did very early this morning. I was supposed to do that yesterday, but we had some technical issues, so I couldn't do it. So I did that this morning. We then prepared for training, so meeting, etc. The content of that meeting, we trained. I then had a meeting with a younger player this afternoon, and then looking at Huddersfield and preparing some work for training again tomorrow in preparation for the game on Saturday. And I'm speaking to you guys as well, which is the highlight of my day, obviously.
It sounds like a busy day. We've got us to end it.
Yeah. That's right.
So I guess we'll start with transfer window ended a day or two ago. I mean, did it end how you envisaged it, or did it go how you envisaged it would? I mean, were you frustrated or happy? Or
I think any coach or manager would always say they always want more players and better players. I'll be no different. I think you see, obviously, some of the players who have moved out over the course of this window. Some players need to go and play. They're at a certain stage of their career or a certain age where they need to get regular football, and I couldn't guarantee them that. I think that also then creates a bit more competition inside the building, where players then feel as though they've got a better opportunity or more opportunity to play. So in that respect, we sort of trimmed the numbers. 𝗡𝗲𝗶𝗹, I think, has been an excellent addition. I was really pleased with that. We did look at maybe one or two other options that didn't materialise. We had a little bit of interest in some of our players, most notably, obviously, Lyndon Dykes, which they didn't meet the valuation of the football club. So am I happy? Am I unhappy? I'm probably somewhere in the middle, if I'm honest.
I guess what you probably see the fans' views. A couple of us were a bit, not concerned because we don't know the full extent of 𝗡𝗲𝗶𝗹, but our fullback situation currently, and with Nico moving out, I mean, was there any desire to try and fill that in? I know finances are tight, and then bringing in another loan is not great, but I guess we're quite short in that area. Is that a fair assessment?
No, I wouldn't have done that if we didn't think Kenneth was going to be okay. So, Nico wouldn't have left the building. So that probably tells you what you need to know about Kenneth. We're expecting Ethan to be available for selection this weekend as well. And, it also gives the younger players within the club, room to grow, and I don't want their pathways to be blocked either. They've got to see an opportunity to come and train with the first team and see that pathway to the first team. Yeah.
I mean, how do you summarise your first 8 games in charge? I guess it's been full of challenges, but some positives as well. I mean, what was your summary?
Yeah, if you'd have spoke to me before the Hull game, Fleetwood game aside, I'd have been relatively, positive. I'd have been satisfied of some of the signs of progress that I'd seen. I think before the whole game, we'd only won one of those league games, but we'd only lost one. And out of those 4 drawn games, in my opinion, we could have won 2 or 3 of them quite easily. If you add those points together and you put an extra 4 points on top, then our situation in the league looks completely different. So it's important for me to keep perspective around where we're at. That is not to take my eye off what happened at Hull at the weekend, and also the FA Cup game at Fleetwood, because in those 8 games, I think there's been 2 really poor performances that have been not at the level required. And if those keep reoccurring, and they've already happened, I say, twice in 8 games, then that's far too often, far too often. So we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of improvement to make. I have seen signs of progress. It's whether we can put it all together and be consistent enough. Again, prior to Hull, we'd been looking harder to score against, and we looked like we were going to start scoring more goals at the other end of the pitch, even though it's difficult to go from a low scoring team to prolific overnight. And I thought we'd showed signs of creating more chances at the weekend against Hull. We looked as though we'd taken a step back. We didn't create enough opportunities, and the goals we give away were really, really poor goals. So it's something we have to eradicate, and we have to do that very, very quickly if we want some meaningful games at the end of the season.
After the defeat to Hull, you spoke about the mentality being a big reason for the or impact on the performance. I mean, can you expand on that a bit, and how do you address that and overcome that? Because it's quite a big challenge, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. It is a challenge, but I enjoy a challenge. That's the beauty of coaching, and not enough emphasis, I don't think, is put on your training process during the week and improving the players at your disposal, not just from a tactical or technical point of view, but from a behavioural point of view. I was at a club where, I thought Liverpool were, one of the very best, if not the best, in terms of clarity and consistency of performance. You know exactly what you're going to get from those players, home or away, in any competition, because of how they trained. To do that, you've got to have the right people in the building. So we've got to be humble enough to realise that we're far from the finished article, and we've got a lot of work to do. So it starts from a good point, from being a good person, and recognising that we've got a lot to learn, and what you do on a daily basis can have a major impact on your performances at the weekend.
One question I've always wondered, and I'll ask you while we're on it. Obviously all the preparation you do going into a game, you do your team talk, you get out there. How frustrating must it be when sometimes the team, especially like we've shown on some games, they just don't start, something happens? My question is, what happens in that first sort of 10, 15 minutes to make that sort of mentality or attitude change? And how, what can you do on the sidelines to try and influence that? You must feel like there's not a lot you can do, but it's so frustrating, because I get frustrated watching. So you doing all that work must get even more.
Yes, very much so. Look, we're playing in a random game. It's 11v11. We've got a plan, they've got a plan. We're trying to break them down and stop them from doing what they want to do. They're doing the same to us. You've got the referee and linesman, and there's so many millions of decisions that happen, and you're trying to sort of sometimes eliminate as much of that randomness as you can. But also you have to take into context the psychological sort of position that the players are in at the moment. I've obviously only just joined in the last sort of 2 months, but the run that the players are in at the moment was before me, and so they're probably feeling it for a longer period of time than what I am. So when I'm thinking a bit more positively, they've got a little bit more of a hangover, if you like. So look, how you work during the week, the messages that you portray, how you train, the meetings that you have, and the players are learning about me and the staff all the time. They've had a bit of uncertainty this year, a bit of change, and everyone's different, and they're getting to learn about me, know what I'm like, what are my behaviours like, what do I value, and that's me about them. I'm learning something about the individuals in the group every day. And you hope over a period of time you build that environment and that culture where everyone's together with the right spirit, and we go and attack every game, and we've shown that we can, but we don't show that every single game right from the start, and that's something, again, to say, that's something that is very, very frustrating, to be honest.
You mentioned obviously Mick Beale was a good friend of yours. I think we've heard that historically. What was there any kind of handover from him to you in kind of the squad, and what his views were, and how much has that influenced what you've done since you've got the job?
I do know Mick because we worked together at Liverpool for a lengthy period of time. I did speak to him, but I've also made it, my it's important to be your own person as well, and not to walk into a football club with preconceived ideas. So I wanted to use my own eyes and ears as well, and get to know the staff around me, get to know the players, and that's what you do. You sort of audit everyone, if you like, in your first sort of 90, 100 days, 3 months, whatever. You look around, and off the back of your judgments and opinions and speaking to staff and players, you formulate a plan both on and off the pitch to try and improve the club and move it forwards. And that's what I've done, or I'm doing now. That's the process that we're in now.
The question I've got that I wanted to ask, which since you've been in the club, has there been someone that's impressed you the most? Someone who maybe you didn't think, or or someone who you reflect back and they've really impressed you in training or in match day or attitude?
I wouldn't want to single any names out. I think that would be wrong. I think we've got good staff here, good staff who have got a genuine care for the players and for the club and want the club to do well. I felt a lot of support towards myself and the staff that have come in. They really want me and the players to do well. I feel like they're right behind us, regardless if we win, lose or draw. And that's a good feeling. And the players they've been a good group to work with. I've really enjoyed working with them and getting to know them. We've got a good bunch who do care. And they're just not in at the moment because of the situation. They're probably overthinking things a little bit, and we just need to get back to basics, strip it back a little bit, and become harder to play against and be a bit more ruthless at both ends of the pitch.
Neil, just going to jump in now. Just want to see, how have you found it at QPR since you've joined? And was it hard to come in after the World Cup break, where the players had a bit of time off, but obviously you weren't there to take charge of that? Has it been hard coming then into the Christmas fixture list, where it's a lot of games cramped into a short space of time?
You can never choose when you get to really come to a football club. Ideally, it would always be at the start of pre-season or in the summer, where you get 6 or 7 weeks with the players, and you can, if you like, I've probably just come to the end of my pre-season, if you like. So coming in after the break, again, ideally, if you could choose, I'd have come in at the start of the break, but no one was to foresee what was going to happen during that period, and have some weeks on the training ground. We went straight into our first game and then into a really busy Christmas period. But again, one of the best ways of finding out anything about any player is on the pitch in the heat of the battle, and I learned a lot very, very quickly from those games. It gave me some room for optimism with some of those performances, but I also saw enough in those performances to know that we need to make improvements, and the signs were all there before I joined. You could say the signs were there last season as well. This is not a new thing, I don't think. You would be better placed than me to comment on that, I think. But I saw that from afar last year, being at Blackpool. And it's up to us now, with 3 months of the season to go, to make sure that the season doesn't follow a similar pattern to last.
Yeah. Obviously, so now you've had a chance to assess the whole squad. If everyone was fully fit and available to you, do you have a preferred starting 11 that you'd aim for, or or formation that you would choose that once everyone is fully available to you? Because obviously you've kind of gone with a 4-2-3-1 at the minute. That seems to be your formation of choice. Just wondering, if with everyone available, would you tweak that? Is there anything you would like to experiment with?
Yeah, I'm not afraid to tweak the formation, if the words you like there, if I think it's the right thing to do for certain games. So sometimes you'll see a certain player playing in a position, even within that formation, that might be slightly different from the week before, and that might be just a tactical reason. We want him to play a slightly different role within that system. I'd like to think I picked a team that suits the players that you've got at your disposal. It's all right me coming in and say, right, I want to play 4-4-2, but then we don't have the players capable of playing 4-4-2. That would be madness. That would be, I'm sort of setting the players up in a system that they're not accustomed to playing or not suited to playing. I don't think that's good common sense. Part of football management is common sense. It's about looking at your players, what best suits them, and then putting them in that formation. What doesn't change is our principles and how we want to attack and defend. The formation is just the steering wheel. And I'd say if a certain game required us to go with a back three or a midfield three, then I wouldn't be afraid to do that if I felt it give us an advantage over the team we were playing against.
Yeah. Obviously, results haven't been perfect recently. Do you feel the team at the minute that like you've got enough trust in them that they can turn this form around and like we can push on for the back end of the season?
I suppose time will tell. Time will tell. I'd love to. I'm not going to come on here and say, make any outlandish statements or, look, we'd all love to be competing at the top end of the table, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I'm no different. I've got a good quality group of players here, but I suppose, I just try and be myself. I speak honestly and from the heart and tell you what I see at the moment. And if we don't improve at both ends of the football pitch, then we won't be where we want to be. It's my job, it's my responsibility to improve this group of players during the week so we give better performances on a consistent basis. If we do that and we can pick up some wins, then I think the feeling within the group changes. Psychologically, we feel different and you can build a bit of momentum, and then you might build a bit of confidence and momentum at the right time. And if we do that, then we can have an exciting end of the season where, I want to be, I think we'd all love to be playing at Loftus Road at the end of the season, playing in games where we've got a chance of competing to get in the top six. I want to feel that atmosphere because I know it'll be a special atmosphere. We'd all want that. And, I'm desperate for that to happen.
Yeah. Obviously, just a quick one about, was it easy to take the QPR job when obviously the directors and that came knocking on the door? Like, was it something that you kind of had to think about, or was it kind of like, yeah, I'm ready to get back into management now?
Yeah, as soon as the option was there, or it was available, I looked at the squad, and the club, and I genuinely thought I'd be a good fit for the football club and for the players within the squad. So I was hoping that I would get the opportunity, but you never know. The club is quite rightly does a recruitment process, and they're within their rights to employ whoever they think is best. And fortunately, that was me. I'm very privileged to be in this position. It's a fantastic football club. It really is. And you look at the list of coaches and managers who have worked here previously, and my name's on that list. That's really humbling. It really is. I never thought years ago that I would be manager of QPR. It's brilliant. And whilst I'm here, I can assure every single supporter, and I think if you spoke to the players and the staff here, that I work morning, noon, and night to try and bring my best to this football club and improve it whilst I'm here.
Yeah. Just a quick one. Obviously, the Taylor Richards loan situation. We haven't really seen a lot of him this season due to obviously him picking up a few knocks and injuries. Obviously, we know there's is it an obligation or an option to buy him in the summer.
Yeah.
How will you manage that kind of situation with regards to getting him fit enough to see what he can offer, and if that's an option you want to take up in the summer? Is that kind of your decision, or is that like with the board? Like, who kind of would make the final decision on that?
No, I believe that the contract issue is already there. It's in place, so that will happen regardless.
It will happen, okay.
So Taylor, at the moment, we've been trying to get him into a place where he's ready and fit enough to come and contribute for us. He played, I think it was 90 minutes. I think it was 90 minutes last week against Brentford on a Tuesday, and then I don't know if you see, maybe you did, but unfortunately, one of his sort of close friends was involved in, something very horrible last week, which set him back for a couple of days, unfortunately. But he's been back in training this week, and again, we get on that path of trying to help him to improve his physical condition and his fitness and build up his minutes if we can, like we tried to do in the Brentford game behind closed doors, because there's no doubt in his ability. He's just now got to work as hard as he can and be patient and wait for them opportunities to present themselves.
I'll just jump in, Neil, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're all quite excited to see really what Taylor Richards can do, because he's shown flashes when he has played here and there. So yeah, he's be like a new signing really coming into the team.
Yeah, if we can get him fit and up to speed, and we can build up his rhythm and his match fitness, then I say there's no doubt in his ability. He is a very talented player. I've been aware of him since, he went from Fulham to Man City many years ago. Seen him play many a times. Was a thorn often in Liverpool's, younger teams that I was in charge of. So I've seen him at close quarters, and then going to Brighton, obviously, and then Doncaster in League One playing against Blackpool. I know him from then as well. So I'm very aware of what he brings to the team. And Taylor's at a stage of his career now, again, where he wants to kickstart his career and get going. To do that, he's got to be in good condition, good physical condition. He's got to build up his training and his match minutes if we can. And if we can do that, then, yeah, I'm hoping, like you are, come the back end of the season, he could prove a really valuable asset for us.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Lyndon Dykes. Obviously, there's a lot of concern about his situation at the moment. Is there anything you can share possibly about his health at the moment?
I can't speak, obviously, about Lyndon's illness too much because it's confidential to him. I wouldn't want to speculate too much. He came off Swansea, as you saw, ill. He tried to stay in at half time, but had to come off. He never trained until Thursday of last week. He wanted to train, had to come off during that session, and deteriorated from then. He's in hospital. He's obviously being seen by specialists, and he's on medication. I went to see him yesterday. I think he was probably half asleep when I walked in, maybe not thinking I was going to turn up at that precise moment in time. But yeah, I think he hopefully will be out, discharged in the next 24, 48 hours. And I'm sure, like I do, and the staff and the players here and all the supporters and the QPR family, we send him our best wishes, and we hope that he gets back home and we can start building him up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll just echo those sentiments, really. So since you've been there, it's been noted you've attended some under-18s, some B team games, and I just wondered what your thoughts were really on some, again, not to name individuals, of course, but just the academy, and there seems to be some promising players, especially the under-18 lot look quite good. Aside from Sinclair Armstrong, do you envisage some opportunities further down the line this season potentially for some of those?
I hope so. That's the sort of the journey I've taken. My background at a vast sort of portion of my coaching career has been in development, has been in helping young players to progress, and it's something that I love doing. It's something I'm passionate about. I enjoy watching the 18s and the B team. It's something it helps me to relax in one way, just to go and watch a game and enjoy it, rather than having the pressure of 3 points. I enjoy watching the young players play. I've enjoyed watching them playing the games. Chris Ramsey's a massive help in the link between the first team and the academy. I've got Paul Hall on the staff with me, Micah Hyde with the 18s. I enjoyed both of the Youth Cup games. And then you got, Andy Impey, Paul Furlong. You got some fantastic people here who are really good at the job, know what they're doing. And I want the players to know, the young players to know that I know them. I'm looking at them, I'm watching them. And if good enough, then we'll give them an opportunity. And I want that pathway always to be the pipes to be clean, so to speak, to give them that feeling of optimism that the door's not closed at the end of their journey.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be, a great vibe building in those teams at the moment. A lot of good wins, which is good to see. I mean, you touched upon the Liverpool background. Quite curious to know, actually, when you were involved, what went into the decision making in terms of when a player was deemed ready? Your Trent Alexander-Arnold, your Curtis Jones. What was the discussions like? What were you looking for in a player for them to be deemed ready for the first team?
It's very difficult to quantify. It's very hard to put your finger on it. There's no sort of blueprint for an individual's pathway to the first team. It's different for everyone. Not many people do what Trent Alexander-Arnold did, which is basically, I suppose, take the escalator straight to the first team. Most people have to, do the flights of stairs and maybe fall over a few times and go on a few loans, and before they get to the first team, it's not straightforward. It's not an exact science. Sometimes there's a little bit of luck involved as well. If I'm honest, it might be that someone's injured and you get an opportunity to play and you're in the right place at the right time. What you can do is, all you can do is have good communication right across the different right throughout the club, through the departments, and make sure that I see the players, so I know that if such and such is injured or he might be out of contract and leaving, have we got anyone within the academy that, instead of us going to look from the outside at a buy or a loan or a free transfer, is there someone in-house that could take that person's place?
I mean, it's be interesting to see how that all unfolds really with the current crop. So we're definitely keep an eye on all those players coming through. But in terms of your personal coaching career, is there anyone that really, or any coaches that have been really big influences on you personally?
Yeah, I've got so many. I've been very, very fortunate. Starting at Crewe, I joined when I was a young boy, desperate to be a footballer. I started coaching when I was 17, 18. I was still an apprentice at Crewe when I started coaching in the Centre of Excellence at the time, before the academy system came in. And then I was a pro for a few years at Crewe, but never quite made it into the first team. And then I played non-league. But whilst that was all going on, I was coaching many nights and Sunday mornings, and I was very fortunate with the people I had at Crewe. And I think that's also important on my journey, that Crewe were like League 2, League 1. They progressed to the Championship. I had about 10 years in the Championship. So I've not just seen like Liverpool and Aston Villa and the elite end. I've seen League 2 and League 1. That was all my formative years. So I think I've got a good sort of broad spectrum of what football looks like, from top to bottom. I played non-league myself, so I know what it's like down there. I've had some fantastic. My old youth team manager when I was in under 18 was Steve Holland, the academy manager when I was a part-time coach, and then full-time when he moved up to be manager of the first team. I joined as a full-time coach at Crewe. He's obviously now assistant to Gareth Southgate at England's first team. When I went to Liverpool, I had Alex Inglethorpe, who'd been at Tottenham with Chris Ramsey, John McDermott, Steve Highway was there. I met some fantastic people, like Mick Beale, Brendan Rodgers had, been through my pathway and worked his way to the Liverpool's first team. He was brilliant with me. Jurgen Klopp came in. He was unbelievable with me as well. I then meet Steven Gerrard. I work with him. I go to Aston Villa with Steven. That I've come here. I've got Les Ferdinand, Chris Ramsey. You're talking about some of the best coaches and developers in this country in the past 15, 20 years, in my opinion. And I've had, the fortune to work under those. So I'd have to be stupid or walking around with a balaclava on my head not to learn off those types of people.
Obviously, just a quick one on the coaching side of it. You are one of only, if I get my stats right, you're one of only 16 people currently that hold UEFA's elite badge. What does that actually entail? Like, obviously, I know everyone's got like their pro license and stuff. So to get the elite badge, Like, what
Yeah,
goes into doing that?
what that was a course that was so after your A license, the FA were looking to put something together for coaches who had completed their A license that was then beyond your A license, right? Is like, what's next? Just because you've done your A license doesn't mean you stop learning and improving and getting better. And it was like the brainchild of 𝗡𝗲𝗶𝗹 who sadly, unfortunately, isn't with us anymore. He was an unbelievable coach educator, worked at the FA at the time, had been all over the world. Himself and Alistair Smith put together a cohort of people. I was one of them. It was an 18-month course. It was an unbelievable course, the best course I'd ever been on. And they then did it again the second year. And they were trying to get that ratified by like FIFA as a where it would, you need funding for these courses, and I don't think they ever got it. So unfortunately, I'm not sure they do it anymore, which is really disappointing, because I've got to say that that group of people, some of them have gone on to do very good things in the game, and I think that course played a big part in that. And just because you get your pro license doesn't mean that you should stop learning all of a sudden. So I think those get-togethers, and I know the FA do now, like alumni events, the LMA do events as well, and they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant to getting people together and sharing ideas and thoughts.
Like the opposite to the Rems boss, you know, he's got no badges and he's like FM, and it's like
Is
the
it?
complete opposite. Have you not seen
Is that
him?
what? Is it? Is that
Yeah,
it?
the club are getting fined like £22,000 a day because he hasn't got the right.
All right. Yeah,
the right.
Yeah, you have to have certain qualifications now, don't you, to coach,
Yeah.
obviously, or managing the top leagues. You've seen that before, where it might actually have been Gareth Southgate when he was at Middlesbrough, when he went straight from playing to managing. I think they had to sort of fast track him through the A license or the pro license very quickly all those years ago, when he might have been sort of player manager maybe, or he went from playing to managing. I think it's probably I say a little bit more thorough than maybe it used to be as well, which is, I think, is a good thing.
Last two questions, Neil. We'll let you go. Just quickly, I just want to touch on Chris Willock.
Yeah,
he's all, you know. Look, I mean, for us QPR fans over the last 2 seasons, he's probably been the best number 10 in the league. You know,
Yeah.
he's phenomenal on his day. I know you haven't seen it
Yeah.
just yet, but he is unbelievable. And I think we're all just waiting for that spark or that one game just to click him back into gear again.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he was injured a little bit before. Is it a bit of injury, a bit of confidence, worried about his hamstring? Because that's a bad like injury to worry about, isn't it?
Yeah,
Once
it
it's
is. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a bit of everything. You know, when a player's not in the form that he used to be, that psychologically plays on your mind. And I know from speaking to Chrissy how much he cares, how conscientious he is about him performing and playing well, and he loves this football club and doing well for this football club. And you know, I think it was the end of last season when he got injured, and then you know, missed pre-season. And that's really important. Those 6 weeks of building up your fitness. He got injured and then came back and then re-injured, and it's been a bit stop-start. He then finds himself getting going a little bit, and then the World Cup break. So it's about him playing himself back into form, and I'm just trying to help him through that process at the moment, where it's quite hard for a young player who's probably never sort of experienced this in his career. If you look at his sort of playing history, and he's sort of understanding about himself and his body, and so we just need to be a little bit patient, understand where he's at, but also, you know, like you say, we're all waiting for that Chris Willock that we've seen in the past reappear, and I'm sure it will at some point, without a doubt.
Lastly, I just wanted to mention we saw you at Hull going absolutely crazy just before half time. I was scared just watching you. I mean, what? who was that aimed at? What was that?
No, that was because Kenneth had gone down.
Yeah,
it was just before half time. I wanted Kenneth to get back on the pitch because I think there was only 2-3 minutes left of the half. Kenneth was struggling, obviously. But what happened against Swansea the week previous is we lost Ethan in the first half to injury. Dykesy then has to come off the pitch in the second half with an illness. You're only allowed to make 3 stoppages in the game. So near the end of the Swansea game, we want to make some changes, but you've only got 1 stoppage left. And we had 3 subs left. So we had those 3 subs lined up to come on against Swansea, but we're thinking, well, when do you do that? Because we were talking about it from basically the 70th minute onwards, but we knew there was going to be a lot of added time on as well. And I think there was 7 minutes in that game. So you're thinking, well, hold on, it's only the 70th minute. If we do it now, there's potentially 25 minutes, half an hour left yet. And so I didn't want that to happen again last week, because it can really sort of decrease the influence you can have on the game in the later stages when you need those options from the bench. So I was trying to say to Kenneth, basically, get on the pitch. And when it didn't happen, I'm then expecting Jake Clark-Salter to be ready behind me. And it wasn't nothing to do with Jake, because he wasn't. And I just, at that moment in time, I'm thinking of last week. And we hadn't been playing well anyway, had we? Let's be honest. We hadn't been playing well. So at that point, it was just before our time. Yeah, I lost my head a little bit. Yeah, I did.
Fair enough. Look, mate, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. And have a good rest of the week and good luck on Saturday.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks very much for your support.
I'm sure once we get going, we'll be flying this season. We're going to get going again, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I hope so. And if we do, then we could still do something this season. So, let's stick together and let's keep going. Yeah, definitely.
Great. Have a great evening, Neil.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Neil. Thank you.
Bye. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.